stuff. Let's get some more on this, shall we? And bring in Maurizio Zanardi. Maurizio Zanardi is Professor of Economics at the University of Sussex. That's a farmer just near Brighton, a really wonderful part of the world. Great to see you, Maurizio. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time, but can you give us an analysis of what we've just seen here? Because, you know, we may have got up this morning thinking that the US and China were still, metaphorically speaking, knives out over the economy. Now it appears to be a love-in. What has taken place?
Hi. Well, I think that what has happened in Geneva has surprised many people. No one, I think, was expecting such a deal. Having said that, we need to go a little beyond the headlines because a massive decrease in the order of 3 digits of percentage points on both sides. But we should remember that we still are in a situation where the US is charging 30% and China is charging 10%. And the agreement that we have read and reread today is not legally binding. And even if it were, it could snap out at any moment because the further negotiations may dissolve because there is disagreement, or because also of the erratic behavior of President Trump. So I think that on the one hand, we should be optimistic. No one expected such a major agreement in quite such a short period of time. But the devil, as I always say, is in the details. What's going to happen in 90 days? What are the negotiations going to achieve? And let us not forget that the United States is charging 30% on all Chinese goods and more for some sectors, and China 10%.
Indeed, we mustn't forget that because it is the consumer that ends up being bitten by this, isn't it?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it was interesting. Someone I was reading remarked, who won between the United States and China? A question that you posed also earlier. Well, if you consider that all academic research has demonstrated that the tariffs that Trump introduced against China in 2018 were mostly paid by US consumers, then because of these 30% from the US and 10% from China, the consumers that benefit the most out of these agreements are actually the Chinese consumers, not necessarily the American consumers. And I think that's an interesting perspective to look at the different sides of any trade deal.
Do you think there'll be some last word put on this by Donald Trump? And when I say that, I think what I'm getting at is that Trump at some point may realize things aren't going the way he wants, and he may well just revert back to what he was doing. Do you think he's gaining what he thinks he's gaining? Or is there some kind of smoke and mirrors scenario going on?
I think there is a lot of smoke and a lot of mirrors. Just the other day, I believe he said that he was thinking that the current tariffs on China were too high and that possibly a good number was 80%. Well, 80, 30%, two big numbers, but far away from each other. So will he realize that maybe 80% was too high and so 30% or lower is the correct one? Or all of a sudden, also depending who is whispering in his ears, he will conclude that he had given up too much and so will revert back higher. Who knows? We'll have to watch and see.
Indeed, watch and see. But nonetheless, these are the two major economies in the world. If they can't get on in some way, is the long-term forecast for all of us one of turbulence? Is that what we can expect? Do you think in some way after this period of pause, they can perhaps work it out? What does your gut tell you?
I think that they will work out something, but long gone are the days of much lower tariff rates and a somewhat quiet international environment. And that's something that we should all keep in mind. What is also very interesting is one of the data that you showed previously. The exports of China have grown 8% globally in March, and effectively the 20% reduction vis-a-vis the United States has been made up by extra exports somewhere else. China has that capacity. I'm not sure that the US has the same level of capacity to diversify. But of course, quoting between China and the United States, there is the European Union, the United Kingdom, and many other countries that are basically in the middle in a tennis table match.
Maurizio, thank you very much for sharing your analysis with us on France 24. We really do appreciate it. The clarity you brought to the situation for us, because it is a difficult one to get your head around. That's Maurizio Zanardi, Professor of Economics at the University of Sussex. That's at a farmer just outside Brighton. What a wonderful part of the world to be in. Thank you very much indeed.